So then you went through and you've been in consulting then for how long at this point?
Going on 12 years.
Going on 12 years.
Yeah.
And what's your title now?
So I'm a partner, which is, I work at a consulting firm based out of Chicago, and it's audit, tax, and accounting, advisory, and technology. And so we're a Microsoft partner. I'm a partner at a Microsoft partner. It's like, man, there's a lot of titles, right? But I'm actually part of an equity ownership. And so when I say skin in the game, it's like literally there's, there's skin in the game, right? So,
nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Excellent. Robert, awesome story. So if you were to highlight what's maybe one or 2 points along your journey that you would say, gosh, that was a really fundamental leadership lesson, like that you learned that you said, wow, I need to start making these adjustments or show up differently if I want to be effective?
What I think is, kind of taking an honest evaluation of what you don't know, but not letting that be something that you're afraid of. And a lot of times you can end up buying time. When I say buying time, it doesn't mean that you're trying to come up with fluffy words to just sound important. It just means you can buy a lot of time if you spend a lot of time preparing. And I think, again, if you don't have good time management skills, you're not organized, you don't have a focus on, there's an objective on why I'm going in this meeting to begin with. Maybe it's not a tangible objective, but you got to hopefully want to accomplish something. And how can I get us there the most efficient way possible without being transactional? So I just learned reading. I know it sounds, the old-fashioned due diligence, but Google, LinkedIn, any kind of SEC publications, anything that would help me ask more skillful questions. Because a lot of times, again, what I initially observed, and sometimes the introductions, the kickoffs, is that they were too much of a brag board about what our company does, but that really doesn't mean anything until they understand, well, what does it mean to me? And so I learned that if you just learn how to ask more skillful, powerful questions without feeling self-important in asking them, that it draws a lot of people into the conversation, because they see that you asking a certain level of question makes people reveal more information. And that's where the solution is. To me, the technology is just a utility. It's just a vehicle. It's not the answer. And then when you can connect, right, because a lot of the software out there has been more engineer-centric than human-oriented. So in that translation, I would say, for that professional translation, there's a lot of space there for a lot of professionals to excel, as long as they don't forget the simple soft skills and showing genuine interest in communication.
So what's the difference when you think about your time in the Marine Corps, when you led squads and teams, and now you're leading, project teams, consulting teams? Where are they similar? Where is that different?
So there's a lot of similarities, and I think just in general, people are looking for sometimes guidance, some absolutes. What's the answer, right? So, in the military, there's a lot of regulation. Just a lot, Sometimes working with Microsoft, there's like a 150-page book on licensing structure. It's just like, man, that is some exciting stuff. But on the other side of that, it's so I see some similarities where people can sometimes be a little bit enchanted by their own bureaucracy and figure out ways, I would say, instead of solving for, they problem identify. Well, the regulation says, and this means no. The licensing says, or the deployment structure says, and this means no. Well, that's not why we're here. We're here to solve somebody else's problem, which means we have to solve for, right? So there's some similarities there where it's different, and this is probably the rebellious streak that I still hold on to these days, is I just always had this independent and critical thought, like, we'd be in formation, they give this long speech, and I'm thinking in my head, this does not make sense, and everybody's like, raw, and I'm like, no, what? And so it's the same thing sometimes in corporate environments. People get into the rah-rah mode, and you hear a lot of the business speak, and I'm like, no, wait a minute, what? Let's ask. There is a space, and again, I'm not a maverick because I want the attention, but I'm unafraid to ask sometimes harsh questions, professionally wrapped, don't get me wrong, but and there's a lot of people that are afraid of rocking the boat, and I won't say I don't care, but I don't think that's the purpose of why we're interacting, just to further extend a conversation. And I preface it by saying, look, I may ask a harsh question. You let me know if I'm sticking my beak where it doesn't belong. But here's what I'm hearing. Here's what I'm also translating. Are we going down the right path? Because that's not the facilitation that I'm going through in this. Even in some of our presentations, I don't think we're aligned. Am I wrong?
So I want to go down that path a little bit further, because you modeled it for us really, really well. But there's this part of you that is just always true to who you are, which is this candid, want to speak the truth, not listen to bureaucracy or things that don't make sense. But then in all the environments you've been in, to certain degrees, varying degrees, there's a level of politics in those environments. And sometimes politics doesn't want to hear you kind of attend to the fact the emperor has no clothes. And you modeled it a little bit there, but for people that are living in that world, they say, gosh, I really want to be able to just be candid. I want to have candid, honest conversations. But I'm in a really big organization and I don't want to shoot myself in the foot by doing that. How do you navigate those waters?
Well, you have to be okay with taking some risk. And the key word there is risk and not gamble. So
just to unpack it, what's the difference?
Yeah, so a gamble means that you have a response and you have no idea where this is going to go.
You got the dice and you just throw it out there.
Yeah, somebody.
Like, let's see what I get.
Yeah, somebody just there are a lot of signature authorities involved with the projects, but they're not necessarily involved with the actual integration or down to the day-to-day operations. So you have to kind of consider there's your point of view of the reason why you're there in a job, but then there's a lot of external influences. So you have to kind of zoom out of a problem a little bit, right, and understand that the further you're away from the actual solution, there's a lot of other external, when I say politics, it could be quarterlies, it could be from a budgetary standpoint, it could be this person just started this particular company and they've only been there for 3 or 4 months, so their risk, I would say quotient may be extremely low because they don't have a reputation yet just to put their neck out on some random project, right? So you have to just consider all of that. So, if you're going to ask a question, or if you're going to be, the term is pushback, and I don't think a lot of people even understands what that means. They use it. It's like we use these colloquialisms almost when they had a definition and we've turned them into something else. But when you do push back or when you do ask challenging questions, then be prepared to recalibrate. A risk doesn't mean, you're never trying to lose the hand in one question. You're never trying to be so bold that you put everybody in the project at risk or whatever it is, the professional endeavor. You have to always, I would say, keep your team, keep yourself in the game. So if you make a misstep, then it was hopefully with the right intent that can be explained, and they can respect even mistakes sometimes if they understand your intent was professionally aligned to the whole reason why you're in the room to begin with.